The great hall of Valthoran Prime shined with golden light. Overlord Kael'thek sat on his throne, tall and proud. His purple skin glowed under the crystal lights. Around him the War Council gathered. They were the most powerful leaders in the galaxy. For 10,000 years, the Valthoran Empire ruled over hundreds of worlds. No one dared to challenge them. Kael'thek looked at the reports on his display screen. Another world had surrendered without fighting. Good. That was how things should be. The strong ruled. The weak obeyed. This was the natural order of the universe. One of his commanders spoke up. His name was Xenath, an old soldier with many battle scars. He pointed to a section on the map. It showed a small blue planet far away. That world, my lord. The one we conquered 30 years ago. Earth, they called it. Several council members laughed. Kael'thek smiled with cold amusement. Earth. He remembered it well. A primitive planet full of weak creatures called humans. They had tried to fight back. How foolish. The war lasted only months. Their weapons were toys. Their ships were slow. Their defenses crumbled easily. Ah yes, the humans, Kael'thek said. They thought they could resist us. They thought their primitive technology could match our empire. We burned their cities. We destroyed their fleets. We showed them the price of defiance. Another commander laughed loudly. I heard some of them escaped in small ships, running away like scared children. Do you think they still survive somewhere? Kael'thek waved his hand dismissively. If any survived, they pose no threat. Scattered refugees living in broken ships. They will die out in a generation or two. Humans were weak. They are not worth our concern. The council nodded in agreement. They moved on to discuss other matters. New conquests, new territories, more worlds to add to their empire. Earth was forgotten, just another dead world in their long history of victories. Far away at the edge of Valthoran space, a young operator sat at his sensor station. His name was Telix. This was his first year in the Imperial Defense Force. The job was boring. Nothing ever happened at the outer rim. He watched his screens, monitoring empty space for threats that never came. Then something appeared on his screen. A small blip. Probably nothing. Maybe space dust or a small asteroid. He almost ignored it. But his training told him to check everything. He ran a deeper scan. The blip grew larger. Telix leaned forward, confused. More contacts appeared, 10, 20, 50, hundreds. His hands started shaking. This could not be right. The computer must be broken. He ran the scan again. The result was the same. Thousands of contacts, ships, a massive fleet moving toward Valthoran space. Telix felt his blood go cold. He called his superior officer immediately. Commander Xenath arrived at the sensor station within minutes. He looked at the displays. His face went pale. He had fought in 100 battles. He had seen many enemy fleets, but never anything like this. The fleet was enormous, bigger than anything in recorded history. Identify them, Xenath ordered. What species? What empire? The operators worked frantically. They analyzed the ship designs, the formation patterns, the energy signatures. Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, one operator spoke in a trembling voice. Sir, the computer matches the formation patterns to old records from 30 years ago. The Earth campaign. Xenath stared at the screen. It could not be. Humans? Impossible. They were destroyed, scattered, broken, yet the evidence was clear. Those were human ship designs, modified, advanced, but unmistakably human. How many ships? He asked quietly. 30,000, sir, and more appearing every minute. Far across space, aboard the human flagship Retribution, Captain Bora walked through the corridors. The walls were lined with holographic displays. Each display showed names and faces. Billions of them. These were the dead of Earth. The people who died when the Valthorans came. Bora stopped at one section. She touched the hologram gently. Her parents' faces appeared. She was only 8 years old when the Valthorans came. She watched them die. She watched her city burn. She escaped in a refugee ship with hundreds of other children. For 30 years she trained. She studied. She prepared for this moment. Every human who survived did the same. They built new ships. They developed new weapons. They transformed from refugees into warriors. And now finally they were ready. Admiral Dae-hyun appeared on the bridge. He was an old man now, his hair white, his face covered in scars. He lost everything when Earth fell. His wife, his daughters, his entire family. But he survived. And he made sure humanity would survive too. He stood at the center of the bridge looking at the tactical display. 30,000 human ships, the entire United Human Armada, every ship built in the last 30 years, every weapon designed for one purpose, every crew member trained for this single mission. Dae-hyun activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice was calm and cold. No anger, no emotion. Just facts. Attention all ships. This is Admiral Dae-hyun. 30 years ago, the Valthoran Empire came to Earth. They demanded our surrender. We refused. We fought with everything we had. It was not enough. They destroyed our world. They killed 300 billion humans. Men, women, children. They killed them all. He paused. On every ship, crews listened in silence. They all knew this story. They all lived through it or heard it from their parents. The Valthorans thought we were weak. They thought we would die out. They were wrong. We survived. We adapted. We built. We prepared. Today we return. Today we show them what humans do to monsters. Today we bring justice for Earth. All ships begin approach. Maintain formation. Prepare weapons. Remember the fallen. Remember Earth. Show them no mercy, for they showed us none. The fleet moved forward as one. 30,000 ships gliding through space with perfect coordination. They moved like a single organism, each ship knowing exactly where to go, exactly what to do. Back on Valthoran Prime, Commander Xanath rushed to the council chamber. The emergency meeting was already in session. Overlord Kael'thek sat on his throne, looking annoyed at being disturbed. "What is so urgent, Commander?" Kael'thek demanded. Xanath showed them the sensor data. The council members looked at the displays, confusion on their faces. "A large fleet approaches our space," Xanath said. 30,000 ships. Advanced technology. Military formation. They are coming here. What species dares to challenge us? Another commander asked. Xanath took a deep breath. "Humans, my lord." Silence filled the chamber. Then laughter. Several council members laughed out loud. "Humans, those primitive creatures? Impossible." Kael'thek smiled. "Commander, you must be mistaken. Humans are extinct, or nearly so. A few refugees in broken ships cannot threaten us. My lord, the sensor data is clear. The ship designs match human patterns. The technology level is far beyond what they possessed 30 years ago. But it is them. I am certain." Kael'thek waved his hand dismissively. "Then we will destroy them again. Send a standard defense fleet, 10,000 ships. That should be more than enough to handle whatever pathetic force the humans have assembled. My lord, I strongly recommend full mobilization. This fleet is massive. Their technology appears advanced. We should not underestimate them." "Underestimate them?" Kael'thek laughed. "Commander, they are humans. We crushed them once. We will crush them again. 10,000 ships is generous. Send them to the outer rim. Destroy this human fleet. Show them that the Valthoran Empire does not fear primitives." Xanath bowed. He knew arguing further was useless. The Overlord had decided. The council agreed. They did not believe humans could pose a real threat. They would learn, but by then it might be too late. As the Valthoran defense fleet prepared to launch, the human armada continued its approach. On every human ship, crews checked their weapons. New weapons, advanced weapons. Weapons designed specifically to destroy Valthorans. Dr. Tae-sung sat in his laboratory aboard the Retribution. He was the lead weapons designer, the man who created humanity's new arsenal. He looked at the display showing weapon status. Everything was ready. Everything was perfect, but he felt no pride. Only emptiness. He was a scientist. He loved discovery and creation. Now he was a destroyer. His genius produced death. Still, he understood why it was necessary. The Valthorans had to pay. Justice demanded it. On the bridge, Lieutenant Jiwoo calculated navigation coordinates. She was young, born in space. She never saw Earth, but she grew up hearing stories about it. Beautiful stories about blue oceans and green forests. Terrible stories about how it all burned. She entered the final coordinates into the system. The fleet was now only hours away from contact with the Valthoran Defense Force. Soon the first battle would begin. Soon the Valthorans would learn the truth. Humanity was not extinct. Humanity was not weak. Humanity had returned. Admiral Dae-hyun stood alone in his quarters. He looked at an old photograph. It showed his family, smiling, happy. That was taken 1 week before the Valthorans came. 1 week before his world ended. He touched the photograph gently. "Soon," he whispered. "Soon you will rest. Soon there will be justice." The human fleet sent one final message. It broadcast on all frequencies. Every Valthoran station received it. Every Valthoran ship heard it. The message was simple and clear. For Earth. For the 300 billion. For humanity. We do not seek your surrender. We seek your extinction. The message ended. The fleet continued forward. And across Valthoran space, for the first time in 10,000 years, the mighty empire felt something it had never known before. Fear. Commander Xanath stood on the bridge of his flagship Imperial Dominance. Around him, 10,000 Valthoran warships formed a defensive line. These were powerful vessels. Each one could destroy a planet. Together, they had conquered dozens of star systems. His officers were confident. They joked and laughed as they prepared for battle. Humans were weak. Everyone knew this. The war 30 years ago proved it. This would be an easy victory. But Xanath did not laugh. He studied the sensor readings carefully. Something was wrong. The human ships moved perfectly together. No delays, no mistakes. It was as if they all shared one mind. He had never seen anything like it. "Sir, the human fleet is entering weapons range," an officer reported. "How many ships do they have?" Xanath asked. "We count 30,000 vessels, sir, but they are smaller than our ships. We outnumber them in firepower." Xanath nodded slowly. Numbers meant nothing if the enemy had superior technology. He had a bad feeling about this battle. A very bad feeling. "All ships, prepare to fire. Target the lead vessels. Show these humans the power of the Valthoran Empire." The Valthoran fleet fired first. Massive beams of plasma energy shot across space. These weapons could melt through the strongest armor. They could vaporize mountains. Thousands of beams struck the human fleet. The officers on the Imperial Dominance cheered. Direct hits. The humans should be destroyed. But then something impossible happened. The cheering stopped. Confused silence filled the bridge. The human ships were still there, undamaged. The plasma beams had simply stopped in space, frozen by shimmering energy fields. The weapons that destroyed planets could not even scratch the human shields. "Impossible," an officer whispered. "Our sensors show their shields absorbed everything." "Zero damage." Xanath gripped his command chair. He knew then that they were in terrible danger. The humans had technology far beyond anything the Valthorans possessed. This was not going to be a battle. It was going to be a massacre. Aboard the Retribution, Lieutenant Ji-Woo monitored the sensors. She spoke calmly into her communicator. "All ships, void shields holding at 98% efficiency. Enemy weapons confirmed ineffective. Admiral Daehyun, we are cleared to engage." Admiral Daehyun nodded. His face showed no emotion. "All ships open fire. Show them what real weapons look like," the human fleet responded. But these were not plasma weapons. These were technologies the Valthorans had never seen. Quantum disruptors that broke matter apart at the atomic level. Railguns firing metal projectiles at incredible speeds. Antimatter beams that ignored shields completely. The first Valthoran ship exploded in a brilliant flash. Then another. And another. Within seconds, hundreds of ships were dying. Their shields meant nothing. Their armor provided no protection. The human weapons cut through everything. On the Imperial Dominance, alarm screamed. Officers shouted reports in panic. Ships were disappearing from the tactical display faster than anyone could count. Shields down to 40%. Someone yelled, "Hull breach on decks 5 through 12. We have lost contact with 3,000 ships." Xanath watched his fleet die. These were the best ships in the Empire. The most powerful weapons. The strongest shields. None of it mattered. The humans destroyed them like they were made of paper. He understood now. The humans did not just survive. They evolved. They took 30 years and transformed into something far more dangerous than the Valthorans. The hunters had become the hunted. "All ships retreat," Xanath ordered. "Fall back to the core worlds." "We cannot win this battle." But it was too late for most. The human weapons were too fast, too accurate, too deadly. Ships that tried to escape were destroyed before they could jump to faster-than-light speed. The retreat became a slaughter. Captain Bo-Ra watched from the bridge of the Retribution. She felt no joy, no satisfaction, only cold determination. These Valthorans were dying now, but 30 years ago billions of humans died. This was just the beginning of justice. "Target their flagship," she ordered, the one trying to escape. "Do not let it reach the jump point." The Retribution's main weapons locked onto the Imperial Dominance. Powerful beams of energy struck the Valthoran flagship. The shields collapsed instantly. The hull began to break apart. On the dying bridge, Xenath knew he had only seconds left. He activated the emergency recorder. His last message would reach Valthoran Prime. They needed to know the truth. This is Commander Xenath. Final report. The humans have returned, but they are not the same species we fought. They have technology beyond our understanding. Every advantage we had is meaningless. Their shields stop our weapons. Their weapons destroy everything. The ship shook violently. Fires broke out across the bridge. Xenath continued speaking, his voice urgent. We destroyed their world. We killed their people. We thought they were weak. We were wrong. They are not coming for territory. They are not coming for surrender. They are coming for extinction. All of you must understand. This is not war. This is revenge, and we deserve it. The Imperial dominance exploded. Commander Xenath died with his ship. Of the 10,000 vessels that came to stop the humans, fewer than 100 escaped. The battle lasted 6 hours. Not a single human ship was destroyed. Admiral Daehyun stood on the bridge looking at the tactical display. The space around them was filled with debris. Pieces of Valthoran ships drifted everywhere. Thousands of ships. Tens of thousands of crew members. All dead. Captain Bora approached him. Sir, complete victory. 0 losses on our side. All human ships report ready for the next engagement. Daehyun nodded, but his expression was grim. 10,000 ships. Perhaps 50,000 Valthorans dead. It is not enough. Earth had 14 billion people. We have barely started, Bora understood. This was not about celebration. This was about accounting. Every Valthoran death was recorded. Every ship destroyed was noted. They would continue until the debt was paid in full. Dr. Taesung sat in his laboratory, reviewing weapon performance data. Everything worked perfectly. Better than perfect. His quantum disruptors tore through Valthoran shields like they did not exist. His antimatter beams vaporized their ships instantly. His void shield technology made human ships invulnerable. He should feel proud. He created these weapons. He made humanity strong enough to face their enemies. But his hands shook as he looked at the casualty reports. 50,000 dead because of his creations. A young technician next to him celebrated loudly. We destroyed them. Did you see how our weapons cut through their shields? Amazing. Taesung said nothing. The technician was young, born in space. He never knew peace. All he knew was preparation for this war. He saw only victory. He did not see the cost. Colonel Hyunwoo prepared his assault teams for ground operations. The battles in space were only the beginning. Soon they would board Valthoran stations. They would attack their military bases. They would capture the leaders who ordered Earth's destruction. His body was enhanced with cybernetic implants. Stronger, faster, more durable than natural human flesh. He needed these enhancements. The injuries he received during Earth's last stand nearly killed him. Technology saved his life and made him more than human. He checked his weapons, his armor, his equipment. Everything was ready. His teams were ready. They trained for 30 years for this mission. They would not fail. Lieutenant Jiwoo calculated the coordinates for the next jump. The fleet would move to the next Valthoran system, then the next, then the next. System by system, they would destroy the Empire's military power. She was born in space. She never saw Earth's blue oceans or green forests. She only knew the stories. Beautiful stories about a world that no longer existed. Sometimes she wondered what it would have been like to walk on real ground. To feel rain. To see a sunset. But those dreams were gone. Earth was dead, and the beings who killed it would pay. The surviving Valthoran ships jumped away carrying news of the disaster. They would reach Valthoran Prime in hours. They would tell the Overlord what happened. They would describe the human weapons, the human shields, the complete and total defeat. Admiral Daehyun addressed the fleet again. His voice was calm and steady. All ships prepare for jump. Our next target is the Corval system. Intelligence reports it is heavily defended. Good. Let them bring everything they have. Let them see that numbers mean nothing. We will show them that humanity cannot be stopped. Remember why we are here. Remember Earth. Remember the dead. Every Valthoran ship we destroy is justice. Every base we eliminate makes the galaxy safer. We are not murderers. We are not conquerors. We are the reckoning that evil always feared would come. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. Space bent around them as they moved toward the next battle. The Valthorans had days to prepare. It would not matter. Nothing could stop humanity now. Across Valthoran space, the news spread. The impossible had happened. A human fleet had destroyed 10,000 ships without losing a single vessel. The species they thought was extinct had returned stronger than anyone imagined. Fear began to grow. Fear of the humans, fear of their weapons, fear of their determination. For the first time in 10,000 years, the mighty Valthoran Empire was afraid. And in the depths of space, humanity's armada moved forward like an unstoppable storm. They had waited 30 years for this. They would not stop. They would not rest. Not until justice was complete. Not until every Valthoran military installation was destroyed. Not until the beings who burned Earth faced the consequences of their actions. The galaxy would soon learn a terrible lesson. Humans might seem weak. They might appear primitive. But when pushed to extinction, when everything is taken from them, they become something far more dangerous. They become survivors. They become warriors. They become unstoppable. The emergency council chamber on Valthoran Prime was filled with chaos. Overlord Kelthek sat on his throne, but he was no longer calm. His hands gripped the armrest tightly. Around him, commanders shouted reports and arguments. The surviving ships from the Outer Rim had arrived. They brought terrible news. 10,000 ships destroyed. 50,000 crew members dead. The human fleet was unstoppable. How is this possible? Kelthex demanded. They were primitives. 30 years ago, their weapons were useless against us. A military advisor stepped forward nervously. My lord, the survivors report that human technology is far beyond ours. Their shields stop our weapons completely. Their weapons ignore our shields. They have evolved in ways we cannot understand. Kelthek stood up, his voice rising. Impossible. The Valthoran Empire has the most advanced technology in the galaxy. We have ruled for 10,000 years. How can humans surpass us in mere decades? A female Valthoran scientist was brought into the chamber. Her name was Velmora. She had studied humans during the occupation of Earth. She understood them better than anyone. Overlord, may I speak? She asked quietly. Explain this, Kelthek shouted. Explain how primitives became this powerful. Velmora took a deep breath. My lord, we never truly understood humans. We thought they were weak because their technology was inferior. We were wrong. Humans do not adapt slowly like most species. When faced with extinction, they evolve rapidly. They learn. They innovate. They transform. She activated a holographic display showing human history. Look at their past. Thousands of years ago, they used simple tools. Then they discovered fire, then metal, then electricity. Then they split the atom. Each advancement came faster than the last. They went from riding animals to traveling in space in just centuries. When we attacked Earth, we gave them the greatest challenge they ever faced, total extinction, and humans respond to extinction by becoming something more. We created this enemy, my lord. We forged the weapon that now destroys us. The council chamber fell silent. No one wanted to believe it. But the evidence was clear. The humans had evolved beyond the Valthorans. What do they want? A commander asked. Surely they will accept our surrender now. Velmora shook her head sadly. They sent a message before the battle. They said they do not seek our surrender. They seek our extinction. We showed them no mercy. They will show us none. Across the galaxy, the human fleet moved from system to system. They did not pause. They did not rest. Each Valthoran military installation they found was destroyed. Shipyards were reduced to molten metal. Weapons factories were vaporized. Defense stations were blown apart, but civilian areas were mostly untouched. Hospitals continued operating. Schools remained open. Homes were safe. The humans attacked military targets only. They were not monsters. They were soldiers seeking justice. Admiral Dae-hyun made this policy clear to all fleet commanders. We are not like them. We do not kill innocents. Our targets are military installations and war criminals. Civilians will be protected unless they take up arms against us. We seek justice, not genocide. The human fleet approached the Korval system. This was one of the most heavily defended locations in Valthoran space. Massive orbital weapons platforms surrounded the planet. Defense satellites by the thousands. Planetary shields that could withstand any attack. Or so the Valthorans believed. The Valthoran Empire mobilized its core fleets. 100,000 ships gathered at Korval. It was the largest armada ever assembled. Every available vessel was called to defend this system. The Empire would make its stand here. Admiral Dae-hyun studied the tactical display showing the Valthoran defenses. 100,000 ships, massive weapons platforms, planetary shields. It was impressive. But it would not be enough. Captain Bora, prepare Omega Protocol, he ordered. Bora nodded and began entering commands. Omega Protocol was humanity's ultimate weapon. Not a single device, but a coordinated attack using every ship in the fleet. 30,000 vessels would link their weapons through quantum entanglement. They would fire as one. All ships, this is Admiral Dae-hyun. We face the largest Valthoran fleet ever assembled. They believe numbers will save them. They are wrong. Execute Omega Protocol. Show them that no defense can stand against united humanity. The human ships aligned perfectly. Energy built up in their weapon systems. Quantum connections linked every ship together. They became one massive weapon. One unstoppable force. Fire, Dae-hyun said calmly. 30,000 ships fired simultaneously. The combined beam was not just powerful, it was overwhelming. The energy output was greater than a star. The beam struck the planetary shields of Korval. The shields were designed to withstand anything. They could stop asteroid impacts. They could deflect plasma weapons. They had never failed. But they were not designed for this. The shields held for 4 minutes. Then they collapsed. The Valthoran fleet attacked desperately, 100,000 ships firing every weapon they had. The space around the human fleet filled with plasma beams, missiles, and energy bolts. It was the most intense barrage in recorded history. The human void shields absorbed everything. The attacks were useless. The Valthorans might as well have been throwing rocks. Then the human fleet responded. Quantum disruptors tore through Valthoran shields. Antimatter beams vaporized ships instantly. Railguns fired projectiles that punched through multiple vessels. The slaughter began. Captain Bora coordinated the assault from the Retribution. Her tactical display showed hundreds of engagements happening simultaneously. Every human ship knew exactly what to do. Every weapon fired with perfect timing. It was beautiful and terrible. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, 100,000 Valthoran ships were destroyed. The orbital defenses were gone. The weapons platforms were debris. The Korval system, pride of the Empire, had fallen. Human losses, 0. Colonel Hyun-woo led the first ground assault. His enhanced body allowed him to move faster than normal humans. His armor made him nearly invulnerable. His weapons could penetrate any Valthoran defense. His team dropped onto Korval Prime, the main planet. Their target was the military command center. Intelligence reported that high-ranking officers were attempting to activate a doomsday weapon, a planet killer that would destroy everything within light years. They planned to kill millions of humans and their own civilians rather than accept defeat. Hyun-woo moved through the base like a force of nature. Valthoran guards tried to stop him. These were elite soldiers, the best warriors the Empire had. They fought with skill and courage. It was not enough. His team reached the command center with seconds to spare. The doomsday weapon was armed and counting down. Hyun-woo's technical specialist disabled it just in time. The planet was saved. The Valthoran base commander lay on the floor, defeated. He looked up at Hyun-woo with hatred in his eyes. You are monsters. You destroyed our fleet. You invaded our world. You are worse than us. Hyun-woo looked down at him coldly. No, we are what you made us. The difference is we remember what it means to be civilized. These civilians will live because we choose mercy. You gave Earth none. He secured the commander and sent him to a detention ship. The Valthoran would face trial for war crimes. That was the human way. Justice, not murder. Lieutenant Ji-woo sat at her station aboard the Retribution. She watched the tactical displays showing system after system falling to human forces. The Valthoran Empire was collapsing. Their military power was being systematically destroyed. She should feel satisfaction. She should feel victory. Instead, she felt empty. She looked at the casualty reports. Hundreds of thousands of Valthorans dead. Cities damaged in the fighting. Families torn apart. It looked like the archived footage from Earth's fall. Different species. Same suffering. She approached Admiral Dae-hyun in his command office. Sir, may I speak freely? Dae-hyun nodded. Always, Lieutenant. Sir, we have destroyed 90% of their military capability. We have captured dozens of war criminals. The Empire is broken. Should we not offer them terms for surrender? How many more need to die? Dae-hyun turned to face her. His scarred face showed no mercy. Every single one who raised a weapon against Earth. Every commander who gave orders. Every pilot who bombed our cities. They killed 300 billion humans. We will not stop until every war criminal faces justice. But sir, is this justice or revenge? Are we becoming like them? Dae-hyun's eyes were hard. Justice is balance, Lieutenant. They took everything from us. They laughed about it. They would have done the same to every other world they encountered. We are stopping them. That is justice. Ji-woo wanted to argue more, but she saw the pain in the Admiral's eyes. He lost his entire family, his whole world. How could she, who was born after Earth fell, tell him to show mercy? Back on Valthoran Prime, scientist Velmora made one final attempt to save her people. She requested an audience with Overlord Kael'theks. The guards tried to turn her away, but she insisted. Finally, she was allowed into the throne room. Kael'theks looked older now. The stress of losing so many battles had aged him. He sat on his throne like a shadow of his former self. My lord, we must surrender, Velmora said urgently. The humans have destroyed most of our military. They will be here soon. We must offer them terms. Give them the war criminals they seek. Pay reparations. To whatever it takes to end this. Kael'theks stood up slowly. Surrender? To inferior species? Never. The Valthoran Empire does not bow to anyone. We will fight to the last ship. We will die as Valthorans, not as slaves. My lord, pride is meaningless if we are all dead. There are 50 billion civilians on Valthoran Prime. Your refusal to surrender will kill them all. Then they will die with honor, Kael'theks said coldly. Better that than live in shame. Velmora realized then that there was no reasoning with him. His pride was more important than his people. The Empire would fall because its leader could not admit he was wrong. The human fleet continued its advance. World after world fell. The Valthoran military collapsed. And soon, very soon, they would reach Valthoran Prime itself. The final battle was coming, and everyone knew how it would end. The United Human Armada arrived at Valthoran Prime. 30,000 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They surrounded the homeworld of the empire that destroyed Earth. The planet below was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked like Earth once did. 50 billion Valthorans lived on this world. Cities covered the surface. This was the heart of the empire that ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. The Valthorans had prepared for this moment. Every remaining warship was called home. 50,000 vessels orbited the planet. Defense satellites by the thousands. Massive weapons platforms that could destroy moons. Ground-based cannons powerful enough to hit targets in orbit. It was the ultimate fortress. Admiral Dae-hyun stood on the bridge of the Retribution. He looked at the planet below. Somewhere down there was Overlord Kael'theks, the being who ordered Earth's destruction, the being who laughed as billions of humans died. After 30 years, they would finally face each other. Open all communication channels, Dae-hyun ordered. I want every Valthoran to hear this. The communication officer nodded. All channels open, sir. They can hear you. Dae-hyun spoke slowly and clearly. His voice was broadcast across the entire planet. Every Valthoran heard his words. Valthorans, this is Admiral Dae-hyun of the United Human Armada. 30 years ago, your empire came to Earth without warning, without mercy. You demanded our surrender. We fought for months. When we could no longer fight, you killed us anyway. You burned our world and laughed about it. You thought we were extinct. You were wrong. We survived. We rebuilt. We evolved. And now we have returned. We offer you what you never offered us. One chance. Surrender the war criminals who ordered Earth's destruction. Disarm your military completely. Face justice for your crimes. You have 1 hour to respond. The message ended. Silence filled the space between the two fleets. 1 hour. That was all the time the Valthorans had to decide their fate. In the Imperial Palace, Overlord Kael'theks stood before his inner circle. These were his most trusted advisors, the beings who helped him rule the Empire. Now they argued about how to respond to the human ultimatum. We must surrender, one advisor said. We cannot win this war. Our fleets are destroyed. Their technology is superior. We have no choice. Never, another shouted. The Valthoran Empire does not surrender to inferior species. We fight to the last! Scientist Velmora spoke urgently. My lord, please listen. There are 50 billion civilians on this planet. If we refuse to surrender, they will all die. Your pride is not worth 50 billion lives. Kael'theks turned to face her. His eyes were cold and hard. Better to die standing than live kneeling. We are Valthorans. We ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not bow to creatures we once defeated. But my lord, that is madness. Your people will die. They will die as Valthorans, Kael'thek said firmly. Send the response. Tell the humans we will never surrender. Velmora felt her hope die. The Overlord's pride would doom them all. She thought about trying to warn the humans about civilian locations, but it was too late. The choice was made. On the Retribution, the communication officer received the Valthoran response. He looked at Admiral Daehyun with a grim expression. Sir, they refuse to surrender. They say they will fight to the last. Daehyun nodded slowly. He expected nothing less. The Valthorans were too proud to admit defeat. Too arrogant to accept the consequences of their actions. Very well. They would learn the hard way. All ships begin siege operations. Rules of engagement remain unchanged. Military targets only. Precision is critical. We are not butchers. We are soldiers. We will destroy their ability to make war, not their people. The battle for Valthoran Prime began. Human ships engaged the orbital defenses with surgical precision. Every shot was calculated. Every target was identified and confirmed as military. Defense satellites exploded. Weapons platforms were destroyed. Orbital shipyards became debris. The Valthoran fleet fought desperately. They knew this was their last stand. If they lost here, the Empire was finished. They attacked with everything they had: plasma weapons, missiles, energy beams. The space around the planet became a storm of fire and destruction, but it was useless. Human void shields absorbed everything. The Valthoran weapons might as well have been toys, and when the humans fired back, Valthoran ships died by the hundreds. Captain Bora coordinated the assault from the bridge of the Retribution. Her display showed hundreds of battles happening at once. Every human ship knew exactly what to do. They had trained for this moment for 30 years. Every crew member knew their role. Every weapon was aimed with perfect accuracy. The siege lasted 3 days. 3 days of constant fighting. 3 days of watching Valthoran defenses crumble. By the end, the orbital space was clear. Every defense satellite was destroyed. Every weapons platform was gone. Every Valthoran warship was either destroyed or fleeing. Dr. Tae-sung watched from his laboratory. His weapons performed flawlessly. Every system worked perfectly. The quantum disruptors, the antimatter beams, the void shields. All of his creations doing exactly what they were designed to do, killing efficiently. A young technician next to him celebrated. We did it. The defenses are broken. Nothing can stop us now. Tae-sung said nothing. He felt only emptiness. He created these weapons to save humanity. But in doing so, he became the greatest killer in history. The weight of all those deaths pressed down on him. He would carry this burden for the rest of his life. Colonel Hyunwoo prepared his assault teams. The space battle was over. Now came the ground assault. Their target was the Imperial Palace. Their mission was to capture Overlord Kael'thek and the War Council alive. They would face trial. They would answer for their crimes. Hyunwoo checked his weapons one final time. His enhanced body was ready. His armor was sealed. His team was prepared. They dropped from orbit in assault pods, hundreds of pods falling like meteors toward the palace. The Imperial Guard met them at the palace gates. These were the elite warriors of the Empire. They had never known defeat. They fought with honor, with skill, with desperate courage. They knew this was the end. They would die protecting their overlord. The battle was fierce. The Valthoran guards were skilled fighters. But Hyunwoo and his team were enhanced, stronger, faster, better equipped. They moved through the palace like an unstoppable force. Hyunwoo reached the throne room. The massive doors were sealed. He placed explosive charges and blew them open. Inside, Overlord Kael'thek sat on his throne, surrounded by his last guards. The guards charged. They knew they could not win. But they fought anyway. Loyalty demanded it. Honor demanded it. They died defending their leader. Finally, only Kael'thek remained. He stood from his throne slowly. He was old now, tired, defeated, but still proud. Come to kill me, human? He asked. Hyunwoo lowered his weapon slightly. No, I came to arrest you. By the authority of the United Human Government, you are charged with crimes against humanity, genocide, and war crimes. Surrender. Kael'thek laughed. It was a bitter, defeated sound. You think this is victory? You think you are better than me? Look at what you have done. You destroyed an empire. You killed billions. You have become what you fought against. Hyunwoo stepped closer. His voice was calm and cold. The difference is simple. We gave you a choice. We offered you surrender. We warned you. You gave Earth none of these things. You came without warning. You killed without mercy. You laughed about it. History will remember who started this war. History will remember who refused peace. History will remember that humans sought justice, not conquest. You made us into warriors. But we chose to remain civilized. That is the difference between us. Kael'theks had no response. He was placed in restraints and led away. The mighty overlord who ruled the galaxy was now a prisoner. The empire he built was destroyed. And he had no one to blame but himself. Lieutenant Jiwoo watched from orbit as the palace was secured. She saw the tactical displays showing the complete victory. The Valthoran military was destroyed. Their leaders were captured. The war was over, but she felt no joy, no triumph. She looked at the planet below. Fires burned in some areas where military installations were destroyed. Civilians fled from battle zones. Children cried for their parents. Families were torn apart. It looked exactly like the archived footage from Earth's fall. Different species, different planet. Same suffering, same pain, same terror. She realized something terrible in that moment. They had not become better than the Valthorans. They had become what they hated. They brought the same destruction. The same fear. The same death. Yes, they had justice. Yes, they had reasons. Yes, the Valthorans started it. But did any of that matter to the civilians who lost homes? To the children who lost parents? To the families destroyed by war? Admiral Dae-hyun broadcast to the planet. Valthorans, your military is defeated. Your leaders are in custody. The war is over. Humanitarian aid will begin immediately. Medical supplies, food, shelter. We will help rebuild what was damaged. We came for justice. We have taken it. But we are not conquerors. We are not your new overlords. We seek only to ensure this never happens again. The age of the Valthoran Empire is over. A new age begins today. The message ended. The human fleet remained in orbit, but the fighting stopped. Medical teams began landing to help injured civilians. Supply ships brought food and medicine. Engineers started repairing damaged infrastructure. The war was over. Justice was achieved, but what would come next? That was the question everyone asked. Vengeance was easy. Building peace was hard. Humanity had proven it could destroy an empire. Now it needed to prove it could do something far more difficult. It needed to prove it could be better than its enemies. The war was over. The Valthoran Empire had fallen. Overlord Kael'theks and his war council sat in detention cells on a neutral space station. They would face trial for their crimes. The galaxy watched and waited to see what humanity would do next. Admiral Dae-hyun stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the reports. 300 Valthoran worlds attacked, 15,000 warships destroyed, military casualties in the millions, civilian casualties, though kept as low as possible, numbered in the hundreds of thousands. The numbers were staggering. He achieved what he set out to do. The Valthorans who destroyed Earth would face justice. The empire that threatened the galaxy was broken. The scales were balanced. Earth's dead could finally rest, but at what cost? The trial began 2 months after the siege of Valthoran Prime. The neutral space station was filled with observers from dozens of species. Everyone wanted to see how humanity would handle its victory. Would they be fair, or would they be vengeful? Overlord Kael'theks was brought into the courtroom in chains. He looked smaller now, less imposing. Just an old being who made terrible choices. The judges included humans and representatives from other species. This would be a fair trial. The evidence was presented. Communications logs showing Kael'theks ordering Earth's bombardment. Battle recordings showing civilian areas being targeted. Witness testimony from survivors describing the horrors. The evidence was overwhelming, Captain Bora testified. She described watching her parents die. She described her city burning. She described escaping with other children while the world ended around them. Her voice was steady. She had lived with this pain for 30 years. It no longer made her cry. It just made her cold. When asked why she thought Kael'theks ordered such destruction, she answered simply, because he could. Because he thought we were weak. Because he believed the strong could do whatever they wanted to the weak. He was wrong. Kael'theks was given a chance to speak in his defense. He stood slowly. He looked at the judges, at the observers, at the humans who destroyed his empire. He showed no remorse. I did what I believed was right, he said. The Valthoran Empire ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We brought order. We brought peace through strength. When species resisted, we crushed them. That is the way of the universe. The strong survive, the weak perish. I destroyed Earth because humans resisted. I would do it again. I regret nothing. The only thing I regret is underestimating you. That was my mistake. Not showing mercy. Not giving you warning. Those concepts mean nothing. Only strength matters. The courtroom was silent. Even after everything, Kael'thex learned nothing. He felt no guilt. No remorse. He still believed he was right. The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all counts: genocide, war crimes, crimes against sapient species. The sentence was death. Kael'thex accepted it without emotion. He would die as he lived, believing he was right. Lieutenant Jiwoo watched the trial from the observation gallery. She expected to feel satisfaction when the sentence was announced. She felt nothing. Justice was achieved, but it did not heal the wounds. It only closed the chapter. After the trial, the human military leadership gathered for one final meeting. They needed to decide what came next. Admiral Dae-hyun proposed continued occupation of Valthoran space. They would ensure the Empire could never rise again. Captain Bora agreed. We cannot trust them. They might rebuild. They might seek revenge. We must remain here. We must control them. Colonel Hyunwoo nodded. Security demands it. We destroyed their military, but hate can rebuild armies. We need to stay and maintain order. Dr. Tae-sung sat quietly, his expression troubled. He said nothing, but his conscience clearly disagreed. Lieutenant Jiwoo stood up. Her voice was clear and strong. With respect, Admiral, I disagree. Everyone turned to look at her. She was young, born in space. She never saw Earth. But perhaps that gave her perspective the older generation lacked. We came for justice. We achieved it. The war criminals will face execution. The Empire is broken. Their military is destroyed. But if we stay as occupiers, if we rule them through military force, how are we different from them? We proved we can destroy an empire. Now we must prove we are better than they were. We must show the galaxy that humans seek justice, not domination. That we fight to protect, not to conquer. Admiral Dae-hyun stood up slowly. Lieutenant, these are the beings who killed 300 billion humans. They showed us no mercy. Why should we show them any? Because that is what separates us from them, Jiwoo replied. They killed because they could. Because they were strong. We are strong now. Stronger than them. But strength without wisdom is just tyranny. If we occupy them, we become the next empire. The next threat. The next villains. The room fell silent. Several officers looked uncomfortable. Dr. Tae-sung nodded slowly. He understood her point. Captain Bora looked conflicted. She wanted revenge. But she also wanted humanity to be better. A Valthoran scientist named Velmora was brought in to provide perspective. She had opposed the war from the beginning. She studied humans and respected them. She was released from custody due to her cooperation. May I speak? She asked quietly. Dae-hyun nodded. Please. You proved that humans are capable of incredible destruction when threatened. The entire galaxy knows this now. You destroyed the most powerful empire in history. No one will ever underestimate you again. But destruction is easy. Creation is hard. What comes next will define whether humanity deserves to inherit the galaxy. She looked at each of them. My people made a terrible mistake. We thought strength meant we could do whatever we wanted. We were wrong. You have strength now. How will you use it? Admiral Dae-hyun sat alone in his quarters that night. He thought about Jiwoo's words, about Velmora's question, about what humanity should become. He pulled out the old photograph of his family, his wife, his daughters, all dead for 30 years. He fought this war for them. He destroyed an empire for them. But would they want him to continue? Would they want humanity to become the next oppressors? He remembered his wife's words from long ago. She was a teacher. She believed in kindness, in education, in helping others. She would not want this. She would want justice, yes, but also mercy, also wisdom, also growth. The next day, Admiral Dae-hyun made his decision. He called a press conference. Representatives from every species in the galaxy listened. This would be his most important speech. People of the galaxy, 30 years ago, the Valthoran Empire destroyed Earth. 300 billion humans died. We survived through determination and unity. We rebuilt. We evolved. We returned stronger than anyone imagined possible. We came seeking justice. We have taken it. The Valthoran military is destroyed. Their war criminals face judgment. The galaxy is safer because the Empire can no longer threaten anyone. But we will not become the next Empire. We will not rule through fear. Starting today, human forces will begin withdrawal from Valthoran space. We will establish a demilitarized zone monitored by neutral parties. We will provide humanitarian aid for rebuilding. We will help, not dominate. Why? Because true strength is not just the capacity to destroy. True strength is the wisdom to choose restraint. We proved we could annihilate an empire. Now we prove we are better than they were. Humanity was nearly destroyed. We survived. We adapted. We evolved. We returned stronger than anyone thought possible. We proved that those who underestimate us do so at their peril. But we are not the Valthorans. We are better. We choose justice over vengeance. We choose wisdom over pride. We choose peace over endless war. To every species watching, humans seek partnership, not domination. We will defend ourselves and our allies without hesitation. But we will not conquer. We will not oppress. We learned from Earth's destruction. We learned what happens when the strong abuse their power. We will not repeat that mistake. The speech ended. The galaxy was silent for a moment. Then slowly, species began to respond. Messages of support. Offers of alliance. Recognition that humanity chose the harder path. The path of wisdom instead of domination. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed. Valthoran worlds rebuilt under new democratic leadership. War criminals faced justice. Reparations were being paid. Human technology was shared carefully with allied species. The United Human Government established embassies on hundreds of worlds. Admiral Dae-hyun, now retired, visited the Earth Memorial Station. It orbited the slowly healing planet. Earth was still damaged, but terraforming projects were restoring the atmosphere. Oceans were clearing. Forests were beginning to grow again. It would take centuries, but Earth would live. He stood before the memorial. 300 billion names displayed in light. He found his family, wife, daughters, parents, siblings, all gone. He touched the display gently. "We got justice for you," he whispered. "We made them pay. But more importantly, we proved humanity could rise from ashes and choose to be better. I think you would be proud of that." Captain Bora now commanded an exploration vessel. The warship Retribution was converted for scientific missions. Former weapons bays now held research laboratories. Former military quarters housed scientists and diplomats. She found purpose in building instead of destroying. Colonel Hyunwoo trained a new generation of peacekeepers. Young humans and Valthorans learning together. He taught them that strength without compassion is cruelty, that power without wisdom is tyranny, that true warriors protect the innocent. Dr. Tae-sung worked with scientists from dozens of species, including Velmora. Together, they ensured the weapons that destroyed an empire would never threaten anyone again. They dismantled the quantum disruptors. They sealed the antimatter facilities. In their place, they built tools for healing and growth. Lieutenant Jiwoo, now a captain, commanded a diplomatic vessel. It carried human and Valthoran students to joint educational facilities. The children of both species learned together, played together, grew together. She watched them and smiled. This was the real victory. Not revenge, but reconciliation. The galaxy learned an important lesson. Humans could be pushed to the edge of extinction. They could be forced to become warriors. But they never forgot how to be civilized. They never lost their capacity for mercy. They proved that the strong could choose to protect instead of dominate. Earth's memorial inscription glowed softly in the darkness of space. It read, "Never again, never forgotten, never forgiven, but no longer consumed by vengeance." This is how humanity survives, by remembering the past, by healing the present, by building a better tomorrow. The war was over, justice was achieved, and humanity proved that it deserved to survive, not because it could destroy, but because it chose to build. That was the real victory. That was humanity's true strength.